The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the Weymouth Community Access staff or its board of directors. WCA, in compliance with FCC regulations, is prohibited from exercising control over the content of independent member-produced public access programming.
I have something exciting. Thank you for being on the show. I have Bill O'Donnell, right?
Bill, yes.
And it's Registry of Deeds, County of Norfolk. So you sent me a package, or your secretary did, the officer. It was fabulous. I looked it over. Since you sent it, they were marvelous. Sent it a couple of weeks ago, and it's wonderful. You sent it, and then she sent me questions to ask you. But I said to myself in reading it, I know nothing about this. What's Register of Deeds?
Well, a lot of people don't. And again, Phyllis, thank you, and thanks to Weymouth Community Access for having me. Yes, I'm Registry of Deeds and the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. It's an arm of government many people don't know much about. But I always say, when you think about it, the biggest asset most of us have are our homes, and that's what the registry deals with. It's been in existence. Norfolk County was started back in 1793. And all the community land records get recorded there. So the deed to your house, when you borrow money, the bank makes sure mortgages get recorded. Here in Weymouth, there might be a Board of Appeal decision, and that decision gets recorded, or the Conservation Commission might have an order of conditions. So all these land records get recorded at the Registry of Deeds. So that's what we do. I always say the mission of the registry is probably the same as it was in 1793, is to make sure the records are recorded securely and accurately and efficiently, and that the community has access to them. The mission might be the same, but I think we're delivering services trying to use the advances in technology. But that's a little bit about the registry, a little bit about what we do, and there's as I said, it deals with the biggest asset we have, is our home.
Are you, your background is you're a lawyer?
Yes, I grew up in Norwood, Massachusetts. My dad climbed poles for the Boston Edison. He was a member of Local 369 for 38 years, and my mom, before she passed away from cancer, worked at Severe Brothers High School, where I went to school.
Oh, that is a wonderful school.
I was the oldest of five. Went to school down Washington, D.C., down at Georgetown University, and spent 3 years in Congressman Joe Moakley's office, which was a great experience. I do believe in public service, and I remember Congressman Moakley was big on, helping the residents out and delivering services. And then I also was an assistant district attorney for then, Congressman Bill Delahunt. I worked for him, and I have a lot of fond memories. As a matter of fact, shared a desk with your former state representative, Paul Haley. We shared desks in the district attorney's office. So by way of background, I went to Boston College Law School. So that's the beauty of the law degree. I enjoyed my time in public service. I did go into the private sector.
Did you?
My partner and I, we were law partners, and you learn a lot. You learn about paying employees and paying vendors, and that background I try to take to the registry, to try to run the Registry of Deeds like a business. So I try to combine some of my background, which was public service, but also seeing some of the things that they do in business, and try to apply that to the registry. And I think we've put a lot of modernization initiatives together so that it is more modern than it was when I first became registered.
What does that mean? It's online?
Well, yes. Well, when I first got there, they didn't have email.
When was that?
I became registered in 2002, and there's been a lot of changes implemented. And the cornerstone of the modernization initiatives was bring a new computer system in, a new document management system in, to make things more efficient. I also, have to thank the employees there, because a lot of what I'm going to talk about there, in sports, there's no I in team. We have a good team down there. We brought technology in, so we have better scanning equipment, better computers. As a matter of fact, we're located at 649 High Street in Dedham.
Is it the courthouse?
It's right across from the Gold Dome building. The registry has its own separate building, and that building is open to the public, Phyllis. So it's not just for lawyers or title examiners or engineers. we have approximately 45 computers sprinkled around the building that people can come in and use the computer and do research if they want to come into 649 High Street in Dedham. But we're probably most proud of implementing implementing internet land record research. So for the first time in Norfolk County's history, we're trying to bring the registry's records into people's homes and businesses. So if you go online at www.norfolkdeeds.org,
I bet they'll put it under.
Sure,
yeah.
you can look up all this information. You can do research. So, the registry deals with a pretty big part of our economy is the real estate economy. It's important here in Weymouth. It's important regionally.
So does that mean what real estate fluctuates?
Well, what we're doing is delivering services. So we're still one of the few registries that print books. When I first started in 2002, we were at book 17,000. We're approaching book 36,000. We're still printing books. There's 21 registries around the state, and there's only a few of us that still print books. But I'm trying to modernize it. All the information that's in those books has been put online. And people like yourself or can look it up. Now, the professionals want to look it up because they're trying to, do deals on houses and rely on the registry records. If you can't rely on the registry records, houses aren't being sold, commercial development isn't taking place.
So commercial development, you see it everywhere now.
Well, the cornerstone of it is you have to rely on the records to make sure that the title is good.
What does title mean?
Well,
you own it?
Yes, in other words, when you buy a house, the lawyer that's doing the closing is certifying title not only to the bank that's lending the money, but to the individuals that you have good record, that the liens have been taken care of, that there's no outstanding title issues. So whether you're buying a house or whether you're doing commercial development, the people that are investing a lot of money want to make sure they have good title
liens
to the
are
land.
What are liens?
Liens are like mortgages. For instance, lien is I owe somebody.
Okay.
If I borrowed money, I owe the bank. Well, the bank makes sure the mortgage gets recorded. And all these documents are there. And what we're seeing, too, is more and more people are doing historical and genealogical research because we go back to 1793. So a lot of people have taken an interest in history. There's 4 presidents born here in Norfolk County. Governor John Hancock was the first signer of the Declaration of Independence, signed the bill that started Norfolk County. And what we've done with those records, from 1793 to 1900, all those records were handwritten in penmanship, and you can view them. But we were the first registry in New England to transcribe them. So if you went to Book 1, Page 1, you can view the first document. It's from 1793.
What was it?
It was a deed from Foxborough. If you hit another button, the typed version of that handwritten document comes out. So we've tried to make the records relevant, and people need it for business, but other people are also doing it now to do some family research and historical research.
Homestead Act, right?
Well, there are consumer issues, and before I get to the homestead, I just want to finish on the mortgages.
Okay.
When you are lucky enough to pay off your mortgage, make sure the mortgage discharge gets recorded. I'm a big believer in community banks. The community banks, a lot of times, make sure that the discharges get recorded. But a lot of times we're seeing, especially some of the bigger banks, they didn't always get the discharges to the registry, or sometimes the discharges were sent to individuals and they just put them in the paperwork and never got it to the registry. So when you pay off your mortgage, that's great, but make sure the mortgage discharge, which is a 1 or 2 page document that tells the world that that mortgage has been paid off, gets recorded at the registry.
What if it doesn't?
Well, sometimes it's as easy as going to that local community bank saying, hey, and I'm a big believer in it, they have great customer service. You go in and you say, hey, I need a discharge. They check to make sure the loan's paid off. One of the president, the vice president is probably around the corner. They can get the discharge prepared and you get it to the registry. If you go on our website, again, www.norfolkdeeds.org, we have all kinds of information for people struggling with foreclosure or first-time home buyers. But we do have a document that deals with mortgage discharges. It's a document that says, where has my bank gone? Because a lot of banks have merged or gone out of business, and it gives federal and state contact information so people can try to chase down their mortgages. And it also has links to the Attorney General's office to get some help as well.
Do people use it?
Oh, yes, because we see it a lot. We still, because of the computer, we do office hours, and you can check our website. There's 28 communities that make up Norfolk County. Weymouth's great about letting us use your beautiful council chambers. When we go there, people come in and say, hey, I gotta get my mortgage discharged, and we try to give them some help and direction. So people people are in need of getting a mortgage discharge, and we try to help them out.
It's the most biggest thing you have.
Well, especially if you paid it off. I mean, I have 3 children, all went to college, and the last one graduated last spring, and one's still in college. If you're lucky enough to pay off these debts you have, you want to make sure the whole world knows about it when they do a title search. And along the lines of good consumer, issues, the homestead that you mentioned is another consumer issue. And again, many people don't realize it, but we at the registry feel we should get out in shows like this.
What does homestead mean?
Well, a homestead, the state legislators write it into a law in Chapter 188. It allows somebody who has property as their principal residence to declare an estate a homestead, and it protects the consumer. There's a dollar amount. When I first started, it was $300,000. It's been increased to $500,000 worth of protection. What it does is it prevents the forced sale of your home to satisfy certain debts. Now, if you don't pay the town of Weymouth, they can take the property by tax title. If you don't pay your bank, they can foreclose on you. But the example I give is a lot of people drive, and maybe they think they have a lot of insurance on their car, $100,000, but they hit somebody and it's a $400,000 case. Well, your insurance company is going to turn over that 100 probably pretty easy. The injured party is going to look to you to get that other $300,000. Well, at least the homestead puts your house, a picket fence around the house.
And keeps them from taking it?
Yes, they're still going to chase you, but they can't force the sale of that house to satisfy that. And thank you, local legislators. They've put other things in the law that if you have a homestead, it protects the proceeds of your sale for a limited period of time, 1 year. If your house burnt down and the insurance company gave you a check to rebuild your house, if you had a homestead recorded, the proceeds of that a check protected again for a limited period of time.
Does everybody have a homestead?
Well, again, thank you, local legislators. For the first time in Massachusetts history, there's an automatic homestead, but it's only they just passed that. It's only for $125,000, and it gets a portion. So the good news is, if you haven't declared a homestead, you at least have some protection. They just put that in. But for my thinking, the filing fee set by the state legislature is $36. For $36, I'd rather get the $500,000 worth of protection, and it's a relatively, simple document to fill out. So it's a good consumer protection, and it's great, that shows like yours just spread the word, about it, to get the homesteads.
What else do you do?
Well, a lot of the job, it combines, again, a law. There's a lot of legal issues that come up as far as documents, but it also, I'm also interested in the management side, and to implement, for instance, all these modernization initiatives. And it may not, seem like the greatest thing, but for instance, we were the first registry to put a generator. So during all these snowstorms, when the roads are closed, I'm from Norwood, a couple of us are close by, the employees, if the governor says you can't drive, you can't drive, but we get in there. And we've had closings taking place where during these snowstorms, when lawyers said, good thing you were open, I needed to close.
And what does closings mean?
A closing means, someone's selling and someone's buying, and they want to get the deal.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do it at the Registry, Phyllis. We have space there to do the closings. One of the other modernization initiatives that we implemented was electronic recording, where an attorney here in Weymouth can do the closing at their office and then transmit all the documents to the registry in Dedham, and it gets on record. They don't have to bring the documents down physically. They could just do it online. And again, thank you, local legislators, because a law just passed in 2017 that expanded our ability to do electronic recording. Norfolk County was the first registry to do electronic recording of land court documents. 20% of Norfolk County's land is land court documents, and 80% is recorded. Well, the law that got signed in January allowed us to do it. We were the first registry to do it this past April, and there's only 4 registries out of the 21 doing it, and we're part of the pilot program that of doing electronic recording. So again,
what happened if it wasn't electronically? It took.
On the land court side, people would have to do it the old-fashioned way. They'd have to come in and bring the paperwork, and a lot of the banks and the title examiners and the lawyers, a lot of the business community thinks it's more efficient to have electronic recording. So we try to listen to the people and try to go accordingly. I would like to point out that I know I'm talking a lot about modernization and computerization. Going back to Congressman Moakley, we implemented, actually probably going back to my father, he'll be 87. He said, look, remember, a lot of people don't know anything about computers, don't want to know anything about computers, don't care to know anything about computers. So we implemented a customer service center, and the direct number there is 781-461-6101. Where people can call up or drop in, and we have staff there to try to help them out. Do you need a copy of your deed? Is a mortgage been paid off? Has it been discharged? Do you have a homestead? And we do those same things at office hours. We bring our computers out to office hours, or we get invited to some community organizations, whether it's the senior centers or the Lions Clubs or the Rotaries, or I've been to the VFWs and the American Legions, where we bring our computers and try to help people out.
And help.
Well, sometimes people need a copy of their deed. As a matter of fact, make sure you come directly to the registry if you need a copy of your deed. There are groups out there that are scamming people. One group, for $60, they'll get you a certified copy of your deed. That at most, a certified copy costs $2. And when we go to these community groups, we do it for free. So don't fall prey to that scam. And now there's another scam where it looks like a tax bill for $86. They call it a document processing fee, and people are getting scammed. And that document processing fee, they get you a copy of your deed for $86.
And they call you on it, or a cell phone, or
no. What happened is these groups are scamming the consumers.
Yes, I get so many calls.
And people are sending a check to these groups, and why send a check for $86 when you can either check in Weymouth here, come by the town hall when we're there, we'll get you a copy of your deed. But don't fall prey to
them.
Or you can call the customer service number, but don't fall prey to those scams. And it's still happening. We had Hank Philippi Ryan, Channel 7's consumer reporter, just did a story on it. It's been in the paper. Yeah. So, but the best way is to come on shows like this and just spread the word locally. That if you get a scam like that, don't fall prey to it. And that's another thing we did. We did what we call a consumer notification service. It's an anti-fraud property program. We were the first registry in Massachusetts to do this. You sign up for an email. I signed up myself. So any William O'Donnell that comes through the registry, a document, I get an email. Now sometimes I'm William Patrick O'Donnell, it's William J. O'Donnell, it's William T. O'Donnell. It has nothing to do with me. And the reason we do it is there might be a time when I get that email and I say, wait a minute, that's the deed to my house. I didn't sign that. Or that's a mortgage to my property. I didn't sign that. Now, we haven't prevented the fraud, but you can get on it right away and contact the law enforcement agencies. And the FBI says one of the fastest growing white-collar crimes is property fraud and deed fraud. So people should maybe consider go online and sign up for that consumer notification service. As I said, I haven't seen the fraud, but it's happening in other parts of the country, and it's only a matter of time before it gets here to Weymouth and Norfolk County. And to me, it doesn't prevent the fraud. I don't want people to think we're preventing fraud, but if I see that, now I can get on it right away before it gets worse. So that's another kind of modernization initiative that we've implemented at the registry, the Consumer Notification Program.
How many registries are there in the state?
In Massachusetts, there are 21 registry districts.
21.
In some counties, there's 2 or 3 registries. For instance, Barnstable is a big area geographically. Norfolk, we just have 1 registry. The land goes from the Rhode Island border down at Bellingham to here, Weymouth, Cohasset, all the way to Brookline. So there's 28 communities that make up Norfolk County.
What did people do before? You said 1700 that was started, right?
1793. The registry has always been in Dedham. They've been in our building since 1903. So they always came to Dedham to do their business. And that's another thing. Our building, it's a beautiful building and a historic building. But as part of disaster recovery and business continuity planning, we have an office down the street. I mentioned we have a generator to keep us open, but we have an office down the street. It's smaller, but if something happens at 649 High Street, we've at least put something in place where we can continue to do business. It will be a struggle, but we can use that other office. And we still try to protect the documents that come in. We microfilm. So every document is microfilmed, and you might say,
what does microfilm mean?
Well, that document gets microfilmed, and we send it off-site to Iron Mountain. It's in Massachusetts and New York. And when you think about it, there's been floods, Hurricane Katrina down in New Orleans, or recently in Houston. Well, what happened? We're near some water in Dedham. What happened if it flooded? At least we had microfilm, yes, to recreate the registry. And all our data gets backed up daily and weekly, and that gets sent off-site to a renovated nuclear bunker in Rhode Island. So we are taking steps to run it like a business, as I mentioned earlier. It is a government entity. It may be a government entity. Many people don't realize the impacts it has.
Well, you have to run for office, right? Too.
Oh, yes. Again, having worked for Congressman Moakley, I mean, politics is a hobby. But I think the best...
he was a wonderful congressman.
He was. So this combines law and politics and management. But I think the best politics is, we've tried to modernize the registry. We've done a lot of modernization initiatives.
Are you your own boss? Can you modernize the registry?
Well,
do you have to ask?
Well, you still have to work within a structure. There is, for instance, Weymouth is represented. There's what we call a Norfolk County Advisory Board, which is like our town meeting in Norwood or in your city, your town council. They deal with the appropriations and things like that. So, as far as the registry stuff, though, the buck does stop at the registry. A lot of these things that we're implementing, the modernization initiatives, the transcription project, they were ideas, and you make a decision. But then you have to work with other groups to make sure that you can work within your budget and do all these things.
And you have a budget, right? I mean,
yes.
How many people? Do you have people?
Yes, there are 50 employees working 50. down at the registry. We're one of the.
You oversee.
Yes, we're one of the. Norfolk County is one of the busiest registries. For instance, in 2003, one of the all-time records as far as document volume was 325,000 documents were recorded, and in 2004 it was 330,000 documents. So all those documents, we as I said, we've tried to modernize it. It's on the computer, but we still print books. We're one of the few registries that still print books, so we try to do it the old-fashioned way.
Somebody can get it. Anybody can get it.
It's
right?
open to the public. You could come into the registry and the books are all there in sequential order. And
what will the books tell me? Everything?
The books have every document that was recorded in Norfolk County. So that first deed came in from Foxborough in 1793. It's recorded.
1793.
If you buy a house, when the lawyer presents it to be recorded, it's recorded and it's there, forever. That document is sequentially there.
Why don't more people do the books? Is it
some of my colleagues, we've talked about that. They're very proud to stop printing books, and I recognize it is expensive to print books. But everyone's into this computerization, and I am too. But I still like doing it the old-fashioned way. And quite frankly, I don't want to be the first register since 1793 to stop printing books. And some people don't do the computers. We still print the books. We still print the indexes. Our indexes online go all the way back to 1793, to day one. But so do our books. We still print them books. So if someone wants to do it the old-fashioned way, they can. If someone wants to do it the modern way, they can as well.
When you run for office, is it on the ballot?
Yeah. It's this Norfolk County is
I
28
never gave it
community.
any.
Well, as I say, I recognize it's not the most sexiest arm of government.
No, but I mean,
no,
you don't think? Do you go on talk shows? I mean, do you? Well, you're on here now.
Well, what we try to do is, we try to run the registry as best we can at 649 High Street, and then a lot of times, there is outreach. We go to the town halls. We do that much like my days with Congressman Moakley. We go there and people can.
They're just telling me 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure. That people can come by and look things up. Other community groups are interested. I think more and more people are interested in protecting their home, like with the homestead.
Yes.
Or some of the scams they say.
When did the homestead?
Oh, that's been around for a long time. My father bought a house in 1960 in Norwood. He never put a homestead on. It was something that was always part of the law. It's just a lot of people didn't know about it. And I think that's one of the roles that we have as the Register of Deeds and as the registry is, hey, just make people aware of it. And if they want to put a homestead on, we think it's, I'm an attorney, I know attorneys get a bad rap sometimes.
I think it's excellent
10 different
to have
opinions
an
on 10 different
yes.
things, but I'd say 9.9 out of 10 would say you should consider recording a homestead on your property.
How do you think about new ideas? I mean, is there anything new coming up that we should be aware of?
Well, a lot of it is we're coming to the end of a lot of new ideas. I guess we'll have to come up with a couple of more. But for instance, electronic recording. When I first started at the registry, there was no such thing as electronic recording, but it got authorized by the federal government and the state government. So there's probably some future thing that will come up and we'll deal with. But for me, a lot of it was a part of the records. I just think I love history. There's a lot of history in Norfolk County. And, history can't come alive in Norfolk County if you can't read the documents. A lot of the handwritten documents are hard to read, but by putting it on the computer, you can zoom in and out. But by transcribing it, now people can read, and learn about some of the things that went on back in 1793. There's a lot of good history. So what I've tried to do, my principal focus, and it's taken a while, is, hey, these indexes, I want it all online so people from their homes or businesses can look at it. But I also recognize we have to instruct people. So go on our website at www.norfolkdeeds.org. We have computer seminars. For instance, May 16th, we open up the registry and we teach people how to do research.
Scams, you make people aware of them.
Yeah, on the website, as I mentioned earlier, we have information for first-time home buyers. We've also partnered up with Quincy Community Action Program and Neighbor Works of Southern Massachusetts for people that are struggling with foreclosure. So if people are struggling with foreclosure, don't wait till your house is being auctioned off. These two groups are nonprofit. They have an emphasis on financial literacy. They have an emphasis on counseling to try to help people out. So go on our website and there's links to and contact information. Get in touch with those groups if you're having any troubles with foreclosure. Well, it's everywhere. In all 28 communities in Norfolk County, there's been foreclosure issues. Some people may have lost their jobs. Some people might have had health issues, or someone in the family had health issues. And to them, hey, your house is your biggest thing.
Your biggest thing.
So if you can stay in there and try to get yourself back on your feet, but sometimes you can't do it by yourself. Go to those nonprofit groups. That's what I like about them. They're nonprofit.
This is absolutely wonderful information that you're giving people.
Oh, yeah.
Really wonderful.
No, thanks.
I mean, when you check off now that is Registry of Deeds, you will, when you vote for somebody and they vote, right?
Well, it's an elected position. It's been an elected position since 1793. But as I said, the best way is just I like what I'm doing. You just tell people about the registry and just deliver the services. And so I know the professionals know we deliver the services. I get good comments. I tell my staff, if we're not the best registry, we're one of the best in Massachusetts. So we try to provide that service to the people that know about the registry. But we also try to, as you said, a lot of people don't know about the registry.
No.
We try to provide services to the general public with things like check on your mortgage discharges, check on your homestead, and that's the best thing we can do for people. Just get out there and tell them what's out there and take advantage of it.
You have done such a marvelous service because really all these things are scary because your home is your biggest asset. And when you have to look at foreclosure or the Homestead Act or know all these things, we now know we can go online to get it.
Go down, or you contact us. As I said, the customer service number 781-461-6101, or contact me directly at registerodonnell@norfolkdeeds.org.
They can
The
contact-
email's right there, sure. Yeah, okay, we're
I
there.
know you were very accessible when I called, and your staff was wonderful. They called me back. They sent me literature. You
that's
sent it. I
good,
thought
great.
your whole packet was. I read it, and I knew so little about any of this.
Oh, great. No, it's.
I
we
think
like
it's
it.
wonderful that
We
you
like
do
it.
that.
Well, thank
You're
you.
telling me we have to say bye-bye for now. We did it just in time. Thank you. You were excellent.
Oh, good idea.
There is so much that people don't know. You should do
I
it
think
all
we
the
yeah,
time.
yeah.